Hey folks, Studio here, and tonight I give you a ghoulishly dark Studio Daily, where we'll be looking at Xerath. Now, it's not actually that dark. I mean, wow, this got a lot darker than it was before in the preview, which is kind of odd. But I'm doing this dark because we have a dramatic change, which is the Stealth remake. But with the Stealth remake came the Zenzao remake, and Xerath is back to what it used to be. So, even though this may be dark and disgruntling, that's not the right word, we will be using this time to look at Xerath because Evelyn, Twitch, Zenzao, I don't know what they look like. So I would turn on the lights, but they're all the way over there, and I don't want to go back there. It's far away. But we're going to be looking at Xerath from Mandatory Cloud from MTWNA. This was a, I guess, kind of pseudo-scrim between parts of TSM Evo, parts of MTWNA, and the Rain Man going up against Curse. Just kind of hopped in and saw this game. And I like Mandatory Cloud's Xerath. Don't take this game too seriously. Don't be like, man, wow, X player played so bad, because a lot of players are trying something new, and this is kind of like a mess around game, if that makes any sense. But yeah, you can almost not see my Home Depot box in the background. Check it. But when you think of an AP mid, what does your AP mid normally do? What is the goal of an AP mid? I'd say the common one is going to be good mid game, have like some CC, or if not CC, a crap load of damage, and just go ahead, burst down either the whole enemy team or someone important. Xerath is kind of going to be in that role of bursting down someone important specifically. He does a lot of AoE damage if the enemy team is clustered together, but he can only lock in one person at a time with his stun. So if you can go ahead and get like a really good Amumu ult, a really good Malphite ult, that's awesome for Xerath, but generally you're going to go play Xerath under the assumption you're not going to get a super clustered enemy team. If they are clustered, go to town, wreck them. Other things to notice about Xerath is that he has a lot of his damage on his ultimate. And by a lot, I mean the majority of his damage comes from his ultimate. Of course, Locust of Power, his W, really amplifies the rest of his damage with magic penetration. But in terms of just like the numbers, those big numbers are going to be coming from his R when he presses it 3 times rather than from his Q or his E. So his line nuke hurts a decent amount. You can use it relatively often once you max it out. His E, it's actually got a decently long cooldown, but it has a good deal of hurt. But for the most part, the damage is going to be coming from that ultimate. So that's important to remember with Xerath, and that really goes for the entire game. Now, Xerath is going to be going mid against Orianna. Now, Orianna is not, I'd say, a counter lane to Xerath, but it's a good lane to go ahead and mention just some concepts, so I'll be excited to go ahead and talk about that. Let's go ahead, go on to Mandatory Cloud Cam. Watch him move that sexy Xerath body. Damn, he's hot. Anyhow, Xerath, what do you max out first? So right now he doesn't have points in anything, but it's going to be maxing out Arachno Pulse first, just because that is his good skill, that is his best skill, because he's the most consistent damage. You really supplement everything with Arachno Pulse. Like Locust of Power, it's going to be mainly benefiting Arachno Pulse early on in the game. Eventually you can use it for ult damage, of course, but early on it really just benefits the Q. Mage Chains is more reliable, and if you look at the damage, it's going to scale a little bit more, I believe, at max rank. But even though Mage Chains is more reliable, it's got a longer cooldown and doesn't really help you farm, help you stay safe. Now, Arachno Pulse, that is his key skill. Something important to remember about it is you get stuck in place when you cast it. This happens with all of Xerath's skills, actually. There is a decently long... Gotcha, one thing? Okay. A decently long cast time for each skill. So, you don't spend 0.2 seconds. You're not Annie, who can have, like, a Incinerate. Yes, Incinerate come out instantly, her AoE nuke. Xerath has to spend some time casting his spells. This is A, problematic because that gives the enemy time to react, and B, you're stuck. You're stuck casting your spell, so you can get your distance closed, you can get punished severely for casting spells. I mean, like, watch Mandatory Cloud right now. What is he doing? He is, well, not right now, but he was moving around a lot, just, clicking. When he casts Arachno Pulse, he's stuck for just half a second. That animation, he could not move during that phase. And that is something that's actually really scary about Xerath. You are stuck there, and that applies to his laning quite a bit. We will see how Mandatory Cloud uses Arachno Pulse up against Orianna. Now, something important to remember about skill shots. The farther they are away from you, the more time you have to react. So, someone like, let's go ahead and say, I don't know, Orianna, If you use Arachno Pulse at close range, that gives her time to go ahead, get the ball towards you, get the dissonance on you. Like, you can take a lot of damage if you just let the ball hit you, and because you're casting a skill shot from close range. And you'll notice Mandatory Cloud, he's not going to cast Arachno Pulse a whole lot when he's not at the very edge of that range. So that was like max range Arachno Pulse, and he didn't get punished. He can still get punished clearly. Like, the ball still travels quickly. He's in a position to take a lot of harass, so he has to play very carefully. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be, using Arachno Pulse very seldomly. Even though right now the mana cost, it's not super high, 65 mana. It's fairly spellable for this point in the game, especially because he's going to have a lot of mana being a caster. 364 at level 2. Xerath is no slouch on mana. But even though it's relatively spammable, it's not necessarily safe. So if you play Xerath, think of characters like Gragas, for example. Gragas should lose to Xerath, like, in terms of just idea. But every time you cast Arachno Pulse, that is a chance for Gragas to land a barrel, and it should be more or less guaranteed. Like right there, NY Jackie was at max range, probably wouldn't have gotten his attack to work. But any closer, and he's just at a super big risk.
First blood.
And even then, like, even if he's not close, I mean, NY Jackie plays aggressively, so Mandatory Cloud has to be careful. His main goal right now is to hit level 6. He can then aggressively gank, he can actually be aggressive in his own lane. Maybe not kill NY Jackie unless he gets some prior poke off, but the goal is, hit 6, at least hit 4, when you can get Locust to Power and go for some long range nukes. Now, Locust to Power, it's important to remember that it has no mana cost. So there is no reason why you can't just pop out a poke every 18 seconds. Like, if you're in defensive position, go ahead, get that range off, get the poke off if you can. Like Mandatory Cloud right there, he used Locust to Power, he's like, maybe I can get the poke off, could not land it, then he just backs off. And that's smart play, that's good defensive smart play. Locust to Power is not an escape skill. Just like Arachno Pulse, there's a short delay before you can cast after using it. And so you can easily be punished while in this phase. The move speed he gets afterwards is nice, but it's not worth it. And that's important to remember. Like, it is not an escape, so you do not go, man, I need to get out of here, let me just use Locust Power and zip on out. No, you use Locust to Power when you need to go ahead and just cast a spell. I mean, really quickly, hypothetically, if they have, like, a really good slow on you that wears off in 2 seconds, you can use Arachno Pulse to get out of that. Or not Arachno Pulse, Locust to Power. It's like, use it, do some damage, and back off once the slow ends, but overall, it's not reliable. It's not a consistent escape, which, if you assume spells have no cast time, it would be. But Mandatory Cloud, like, as you can see, he just kind of casts a spell, backs off. He's scared of Orianna with good reason. He's also pushed in now. Xerath doesn't have an escape. He does have a really good stun that will generally be possible to follow up and actually apply. But at this point, St. Vicious, like, he scares him. He doesn't know where St. Vicious is. He's in a really good position to just, get ganked. So he's going to be played super carefully. Even with Nautilus, protecting him from over here, even with this ward, it doesn't take a lot for St. Vicious to come through these bushes, dash towards him, and punish him. It's like Mandatory Cloud, the way he plays, it's cautious. And you'll notice every time NY Jackie has the ball near him, or it's on, he doesn't really play aggressively. They go for this camp. He actually lands a stun. They force NY Jackie to go ahead and just, like, run on out of there. Can't pull the flash, though. And as you can see, Mandatory Cloud's damage wasn't that high. All he has right now is Arachno Pulse and Mage Chain. So it's 82 damage with AP and 164 damage on his Q. His nuke combination is 250 damage, and it has an incredibly long cooldown. So when I say Xerath is dependent on his ult, just to compare, his ult will do 375 damage at level 1, more than his first 2 skills combined. Not even factoring AP ratios, which will actually be bigger for his ultimate. So when you play Xerath, or play against Xerath, realize that, alright, he can decently poke before, but what's really going to be your murder, what's really going to be your death, is going to be Arcane Barrage. It is a skill he most depends on, it is a skill he has to rely on. And if you punish him for that, if you realize Xerath can't really do anything without that ultimate up, you're in a good position to really, take control of that lane, take control of that game. There are some characters that will just lose to Xerath. Twisted Fate is really bad against Xerath. If you ever play Twisted Fate, he will get wrecked. The problem is, you can't use your gold card reliably. He can easily cast Mage Chains into Arachno Pulse. You will get stunned in response. And there is nothing to really keep you in there. Like, you get stunned, you take your damage, and you're just like, well, I can't gold card because in that time I spend auto-attacking, he stuns me, and life sucks as Twisted Fate. So realize that Xerath, he's good at punishing people who can't punish him from range and have to go in melee, or not melee, but close range. And if they have to go in close range, that's usually a good chance to land Mage Chains, to land Arachno Pulse, get the CC off, and eventually follow it up with your ultimate. Now the Xerath combo is going to be Mage Chains into Arachno Pulse into Arcane Barrage, Arcane Barrage, Arcane Barrage. If you land a stun, that usually gives you about maybe two or three Arcane Barrages you can almost guaranteed land. This is just based off the cooldown of Arcane Barrage. It's got a very short cooldown, you can really spam the spells out, but if you don't actually land the stun, like, they have a chance to react. It of course depends on move speed. Someone like Orianna, if she moves fast with dissonance, might be able to go ahead and avoid that third shot. If not, she's caught there, and you're just going to keep poking her down, keep wrecking her. But when I say that Xerath has good ganks, I mean he has really good ganks. So here Rayman's getting just pushed out of lane, Westrice applying a lot of his Olaf damage. So this is Nautilus and Mandatory Cloud falling up here. Udyr really can't get too close to Westrice because the Rayman will just die. So this is the damage that Mandatory Cloud can put out. If you can predict, you will just wreck someone. So you go ahead, they see him there, they just catch him. The stun doesn't land, but he just gets all the Arachno Pulses he needs to get off. Now, you can do this with any lane. You just gotta have to go walk up towards them, press Mage Chains, and if they have any CC, if your team has any CC to lock someone in place, they stun them. If you land a Mage Chains in a gank, it's almost a guaranteed kill. Like, look there, Westrice, with a decent amount of HP, he was missing some, didn't get stunned once because he had his ultimate to block the CC, still died just from the chained Arachno Pulse, or chained Arcane Barrage being spammed on him. That's what you do as Xerath. You gotta really learn how to predict movement. Obviously, some characters are gonna be really good at stopping that. Kassadin, for example, good luck predicting that. But in general, once you reach a point where you're confident in knowing how far characters can move, so knowing their move speed is going to be the big thing, you can really just once you land one ultimate, you can follow up with more ultimates. A good comparison will be AP Kog'Maw. It's kind of the same thing. Once you get good at Kog'Maw, once you learn how to predict how fast people can move, where they will move, especially just out in the open, but you can tell Mandatory Cloud waited for Westrice to leave the bushes before he started following up. If you can go ahead and just predict where people will go, you're in a great spot to do well with actually both AP Kog'Maw and Xerath. The difference is AP Kog'Maw's damage is all on his ultimate, and you just use it for constant sustained poke because of its low cooldown. Xerath doesn't have that. Xerath has just that really high burst damage from his own ultimate, which, I mean, it's going to do about 450 damage on its own. Once again, Q and E don't really compare. They're just not as good. It's very odd that his damage is like that. I'm surprised, but Xerath, the best way to think of him is a range burst assassin. He does have AoE, he does have a lot of damage potential, but he's not going to be someone like Kog'Maw, where you're going to pick him for the sustained damage. To be useful in a team fight, to get off the spells you need to get off, as Xerath, think of it this way. Alistar, you want to get the Pulverize combo off with maybe a headbutt thrown into either initiate or push someone away or towards your team. If you can land 2 Pulverizes, your team's in a really good spot because that's a lot of CC. As Xerath, if you can land all of your ultimates, land your Mage Chains, and land 2 Arachno Pulses, do your full combo and then get another spell off, that's a ton of damage, and that's a good place to be. So that's your main goal as Xerath, to get the full combo off and then as many Arachno Pulses as possible. You're not like Orianna, who wants to stay alive as long as possible, just spamming a command attack, command shield, and just kiting like crazy. You're not someone like Karthus, who really kind of the same thing. You want to stay alive as long as possible, but you just want to, get into a good spot and spam your spells. You are kind of unique in that you are a assassin, really. Imagine a Kali. What does a Kali really want to do? Kill one person, who's really important, take a lot of focus as she does so, the rest of her team clean up. She can die after killing one person, and you're in a good spot. Xerath, kind of the same thing, and he can always follow up with decent damage. Nothing too high, though. Now, Mandatory Cloud, what is his build? He goes Needlessly Large Rod after 1 Doran's Ring and Stork Shoes. So he goes aggressive and greedy with this build, which makes sense because Locust Power is going to give you that defensive range. If you look at his HP, he only has 1260, so Westrice, for example, his Reckless Swing is going to take out 280, so almost a quarter of his HP from 1 spell, and that's not even, the entire Olaf kit. Factor in Undertow, factor in just auto attacks, and he will die fast to Olaf. And that kind of goes for the rest of the team. He just doesn't have a lot of HP, but someone like Xerath with that high range, you can play pretty greedy. AP Kog'Maw is kind of the same deal. The reason people get decent HP on him when they don't need to, from like Rylai's, is because it lets him auto-attack more. But AP Kog'Maw, you could go ahead, build super squishy, super risky, and you're actually in a good spot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, is this the fight I'm thinking of? Yes. I'm going to show this fight 2 times. One, we're just going to be on Xerath Vision. And the other, I'm going to show you like the actual fight as it happens. And this is, how you want Xerath to be optimally played. So Curse right now, they're doing Dragon. Mentor Cloud's going to go ahead, try and interrupt them. You know St. Vicious doesn't have his smite up. So let's just watch how this engagement goes. Now, could you see Dragon die? That is a question I have for you. Did you see Dragon go down? I didn't see Dragon go down. Then you'll follow up at Kill Cop. Let's actually look at what everybody else saw. So get off that Mandroid Cloud view. We have Curse doing Dragon right now. What really throws off Curse is they don't expect this super high range damage. So look how far Xerath is. Look how far he is off camera. He just picks it off with his ultimate, takes St. Vicious down to no HP, and is able to scare up NY Jackie right away. Unfortunately, Elements and Cop, they're in like the worst spot imaginable because Malcolm Cutie's just murdering them. So why did that fight work like that? Well, Xerath was in a safe spot. He got 2 of his ultimates off just for the raw damage on the jungler. It was able to steal it with his ultimate, and that's just how Xerath wants to work. He wants to be far away, casting his spells on someone he can kill. Unfortunately, hitting it into a close enough range to use Mage Chains, and had he gotten that stun off, there's no way St. Vicious would have survived that. So that is how Xerath works. Like, that's what you want to do. You want to be far away, casting all your spells, and you just kind of like ruin a team fight for a team. Even if you don't get the kill, St. Vicious had to immediately run because there was just no way he could possibly survive. And if you can do that, if you can put your team in a position where just one guy has to run away, preferably not the AD carry, because the AD carry can usually poke their way back in with a lot of lifesteal, you're in a good spot for a fight. Obviously, you want to kill someone ASAP. If you can do that, like Xerath is super good at that. Like, just watch NY Jackie right there. Imagine if you landed the Mage Chains beforehand. Xerath will just wreck people. But, like, your main goal is just eliminate someone from a fight. And that's kind of what makes Xerath cool. He's just not a constant character. Like, think of your ranged assassins. Maybe someone like Kog'Maw, and even then he's not necessarily an assassin. Maybe someone like Morgana can land the binding, but she still has to get close to follow up. Xerath, he only needs to be close to use Mage Chains, and he doesn't necessarily need to use it just because it's not the highest portion of his damage. Like, his ultimate does a little less damage per cast than Mage Chains, but he's going to have 3 of them, so it's going to do a lot more damage than Mage Chains at the end. So your goal isn't like Morgana, where you follow up by getting close. Your goal is just be far away and kill someone. This is why Riot actually has a hard time with his character, because they don't want to make a scary ranged assassin. I mean, by comparison, Orianna has to get relatively close. Lux has to get relatively close. But Xerath just stays the hell away. I guess the closest comparison between other characters would be either AP Kog'Maw or Lux. Lux, you want to stay far range, get kind of close for one spell. Xerath, kind of the same thing. Like, you want to get kind of close every now and then, but not necessarily super close. And it's scary. Like, look at his damage. And then his follow-up. He missed that ultimate, but like, that is the plan on Xerath. You just kind of, you land Mage Chains, import it in slow motion, let's just watch this entire fight. And it also comes out of nowhere. That's something nice. Yeah, there's no like a clear setup. Like, once Mage Chains goes down, it's just land a skill shot. So what he did there was he actually cast Arcane Barrage, then Mage Chains, so the spells hit at the same time, and that just forced an immediate flash from NY Jackie, and Mandroid Cloud's in a good spot. Now, this game does start snowballing because of Ezreal, actually, which is the unfortunate thing. But I think this is a good basic rundown course of how Xerath really kind of should see playing. You play him early defensively. That's what we saw coming out. Like, what the hell was Mandroid Cloud doing when NY Jackie was all close to him? He was playing cautiously because he was scared of ganks. He was scared of the fact that all of his skills can be punished. What does he do once he gets level 6, once he gets level 11 in this case, and you can actually use ultimate much more often? It has a 49-second cooldown with blue buff, which is really short. he starts playing crazy. He's just like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. Like, that's all he does. 50-second cooldown on his ultimate. He's using it almost off cooldown every time. That's something cool about Xerath. Think of your APs again. Most of them have long cooldowns on their ultimate. Morgana, Annie. And what is the cooldown on Orianna's ultimate? 100.8 seconds. What is the cooldown on Xerath's ultimate with blue buff? Of course, 49. Without blue buff, 63. So a 37-second difference. With blue buff, he's going to have it up twice for every ultimate NYJ can cast. So, like, that's what you do. You play aggressively, you spam aggressively. Once you reach 6, once you reach 11, and of course, once you reach 16, it's going to be the same thing. This also applies to sieges. You can use your ultimate just for, like, scaring people off of a tower. As long as your team doesn't overcommit, you're in a good spot. Mandatory Cloud, what's he doing? He's hit level 13. He's just, going in, poking like crazy. And my Jackie doesn't really have a good defense. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. But that is beside the point. So what's the goal now for TSM Evo Rainman? Not TSM NA Rainman. There we go. MPW Evo Rainman. What is their goal? Well, bot lane's doing well. 152 CS to 128. They're going to kill this tower pretty soon. If you look at it, Cop and Elements are in a bad spot. Mid's losing, and my Jackie's just not doing well against Mandatory Cloud, with his 2-0-0 and CS advantage. And then top lane, West Rice was doing well, but he's doing worse and worse against Rainman. We're not going to look into that too much, though. So now they can play aggressive. They're going for these invades. I'm like, watch this fight. This is just the damage that Xerath puts out. So the Ignite isn't used, and he actually misses an ultimate, but he still almost kills NY Jackie on his own. Of course, after move shows up and just finishes him off. But like, that's his goal. He just got most of his combo off, and had he gotten the full combo off, that would have been a kill. Also, Phage proc. I hate Phage. And if you don't get your combo off, you're just not effective. Like, once again, Xerath and his ultimate, what is the bulk of that damage? What is the bulk of Xerath's damage? His Arcano Pulse, 235 base. Same scaling as his ultimate. This Mage Chains, 270. A little better scaling than his ultimate. So for a single target, Mage Chains and Arcano Pulse are going to do less damage than Arcane Barrage, and Arcane Barrage is much easier to land than Arcano Pulse, just because it's a big circle rather than a smaller line in terms of width. So your focus is to get these off on the right person. Once your Mage Chains lands, just like spam that button like crazy. Just be like Arcane Barrage, Arcane Barrage, Arcane Barrage. Do a trick like Mandatory Cloud did, where you use Mage Chains into Arcano Barrage, or into Arcane Barrage. Arcano Pulse is a weird name, but like how he plays Xerath also is kind of sporadic. So like when he uses his ultimate or his Locust, it's gonna be very sudden. He just like kind of pops in, like maybe goes for one poke. He tries not to consistently stay in the position, because in doing so, he's at risk. And this is gonna be Mandatory Cloud. This is gonna be good what you do in a team fight as Xerath. So he gets an Arcano Pulse onto Zhen Zhao. Mage Chains on a Cop. 1 ult, 2 ult, 3 ult, Cop dead. That is your goal. That is what you do. He lost a lot of his damage. He can't keep fighting in terms and have the same DPS, but he immediately took out an AD carry. And if Graves had had an Infinity Edge at that point and a Bloodthirster, you know what would have happened? The exact same thing. So until an AD carry can go ahead and get really defensive items, a QSS, a Guardian Angel, both of those would have really helped. There's not a lot they can do in fights like this. So Mandatory Cloud just able to remove Graves from that match. Of course, it does help that Aphromoo has a Phage and a Bloodthirster and a Fort Potion in case he ever needs it. So they're clearly doing really well. But that is the foundation of how Xerath works. And while I will say something, like, he doesn't get better spells in terms of Q&E. Like, a lot of characters, the spell they level up last is going to be their nuke, but because of how Locust of Power scales, because it's, just increasing his magic penetration, this keeps Xerath relevant for a really long time, just because he's going to have such high penetration. If you look at Mandatory Cloud, he's actually going for a Void Staff second, so just the Sork Shoes, Death Cap. He gets a Cage's lucky pick, just because he can, and I don't think he could afford the Void Staff at the time. Nope. And then he's just going straight for Void Staff. So, with, I believe, the way the Mastery stack up, he'll have about 66%, maybe like 67 magic penetration. So, look at like just the MR on the enemy team. Olaf will have 40. Zenzel will have like 30. Lulu's gonna have, including his just, raw penetration, probably be about 10 magic resist. And that is something Xerath has in his favor. He doesn't have the highest numbers for consistent damage, but no one will have a good defense against him. The only good defense against Xerath is going to be massively high HP. And who can do that? Who can really get massively high HP and get away with it in this game? Because people figured out how to build AD carries, no one. No one can have super high HP, no one can get away with not having any resistances. And because of that, like, he's in a great position just to bully the enemy team. It's important to have a good team composition that like has high magic damage, has high physical, so Looter is a good combination of both. Ezreal, a good combination of both. With that high hybrid damage, they have to build resistances. They can't just build raw HP. And in doing so, that leaves Xerath in a good spot. Like, they build raw HP, they might be a little strong against Xerath, but they're going to be working against the rest of his team. They build high MR. You know what, Xerath doesn't care. He's great against that. And his magic penetration, nope, I missed it. But his spell penetration is 10%. Once he goes into Locust, which I'm going to be looking out for, I just want to show that number, how big that number will be. Because that number will be huge. But right now, Evo, MTW, Evo, Rain Man, they're just kind of wandering around. They're kind of winning at this point. This is just like the stompy part of the game. Oh, I actually want to show this fight off because it's the coolest fight. This is not Xerath. This is just how far ahead Afram was. Let's watch this fight because it's a cool fight. You will learn nothing about Xerath in this, except Xerath could have cleaned up. That's all you can learn. So Sandwich just goes on with Cutie because he's the only one who can catch. Ultimate gets instantly interrupted, and then Afram just kills everybody. Cop, unfortunately, with the attack speed debuff, can't finish him off. And then Elements, can you do it? Can you do it? Nope, Snowball. But he also had red buff. I love that fight. Oh, missed it. But as you can see, he just pushes MY Jackie immediately out underneath that turret. He casted 2 spells. MY Jackie just gets destroyed, eliminated, has to back off. There's gonna Locust right there. And like it's just what you do. It's weird to explain it like that. Like what you do is you're a huge bully once you get to a good position in the game. You don't want to play from too far behind because your damage may not just be high enough. But as long as you're doing okay, you're usually in a good position just to burn AD carries. Now Xerath, like I said before, he's not in a good position to go ahead and escape things. So here's Westrice chasing him, 511 move speed versus 393, and like Mandatory Cloud has nothing to get away from or nothing to get him away. Okay, so really quick, I'm just gonna slow down because I know he cast it right now. He dodges it. He does that axe first. 35% spell vamp or spell penetration, up from 10. But like, what could Mandatory Cloud have done to get away from there? He could have kept backing up, going towards Aframu, but like there was no clear, easy escape. I think he just tried to fight because he was having fun. But that is a problem Xerath has. Once you start getting someone like Ola, Shyvana, Nautilus, those really good gap closes onto you, you're screwed. There's nothing you can really do to get out. You can Locust of Power Wall slows on you if that soul wear off, which against Olaf that's not going to happen. For example, you can use Flash. You might actually want to run Ghost on Xerath. Ignite gives him a lot of lane presence, lets him finish off people like TF, like actually even Orianna. But if you want to be super safe, you can run extra summoners, but that's not up all the time. So as Xerath, it's super important that you do not get caught out. Like his move speed 393, that's actually pretty good. That's a pretty decently high move speed, but it's not saving him from an Olaf with Ghost up. So when you do play Xerath, or if you are playing against Xerath, realize that once his stun is used, or if you have a way to get rid of that stun, like GP, if you have a good way to keep up with him, in terms of just a slow or just really high move speed, or God forbid both, there's very little he can do besides try to out DPS you. So if you can dodge his ultimate, or his ultimate's down, punish him. Now, when I said that what you want to do as Xerath is do that full combo, it's important to remember that that full combo is going to last about 3 seconds. Also, I was mistaken. He actually goes for a DFG, which really works well with his spell penetration because it benefits from it. So it's about 3 seconds to do that combo. So watch Mantra Cloud in this case. He gets caught. He gets a stun off. He gets one Arcane Barrage off, and then he dies. So you cannot be caught as Xerath. You would not have the luxury of someone like Annie, where you can cast all these spells in half a second. You're good. You have to be careful. You have to be super cautious. But with that fight, this game ends. Mantra Cloud did amazingly well. Aframu did amazingly well. 12-1-6. Jesus Christ. I was actually thinking about doing this on Ezreal, but look at his item build. It's a bit goofy. It's not bad, but it's not something that will work consistently. He just got so far ahead. He could snowball by building a Frozen Heart. But that was kind of, you know, basic Xerath. Look, I will be doing stuff for good old-fashioned Twitch, good old-fashioned Evelyn, those cool characters, but I have to wait for some more time to pass for people just to learn what they do. Because I know what you're thinking, like, I know what they do. No, you don't. No. Okay, no. The reason you don't know what they do is because no one knows what they do. Riot has an idea. I believe Evelyn's going to be getting some buffs. You know, it's a maybe. Evelyn might be getting some buffs. Twitch and Zenzao, I have not seen consistent play out of anybody. So I'll be looking at them in a bit. But yeah, it's Studio. I'll have some more updates this weekend actually because I'm not casting anything. You can catch me on Twitch TV/Soviet Waffle. I might be changing that to Studio at some point, League of Studio, but I got to contact some dudes. Aside from that, you know, check me out on stream. Enjoy this ghoulish stealth remade night. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Adios, folks.